So I'm out and about in the Swedish summer because I wanted to do two things. And one of them was I wanted to see what the teardrop looked hooked up to the Wooster, to see if the proportions seemed what I want them to be, if they look good enough for me. I also wanted to test tow the trailer because I'm hoping I've done things right and I'm hoping that it's straight, but giving it a test run with the Wooster will let me know if if it's trailing all right. So that's what I'm going to do now. So my daughter, Boel, who is helping me with the filming right now, also helped me get rid of those hoops, the beginning of the structure. But one thing I didn't mention was that, as you can see, the trailer is tilting towards the car. And in the end, I do not want that tilt. Of course, the hookup is where it is, and the Wooster is sitting where it's sitting. So what I will do is I will have smaller wheels eventually. The ones that I'm using now are 14 inches. So I go down to 13, maybe even 12 inches, so that I get the trailer to sit much more flat. So, okay, I'm off for a quick test tow. And you're welcome to tag along for as long as you can. Well, as far as I can tell, that's working out to my expectations. I've made another piece, and I thought it was time for some show and tell, since once again, this is all about making all of us capable and brave enough to just build the things that we want to build. It will, of course, go wrong more or less all the time. I don't think there's anything that I tried to repair that I didn't make worse before it got better, and things that I built where I hadn't screwed up more or less along the way. That's not the point. The point is doing it. The point is building it, making it. So the shape that I've just made, I didn't have beforehand. So for those of you which this is simple and easy to do, you can do something else now. But for those of you who wonder how I arrive at the shapes that I decide on, I wanted to make another kind of attempt to explain how it all happens in my head and on the floor, because it's going to have to happen on the floor. So this shape I didn't have. So how did I arrive at the shape, and how was I able to know that this is the shape that I want and the shape I need? Well, the last time we looked at the floor, I hadn't laid out the longitudinal shape of the teardrop. I have now, which is a green line that maybe you can see goes all the way around, from here all the way around and it ends over there. So that meant that this is the front. I don't know if you can see this now because I'm kind of filming blindsided, but hopefully, otherwise I'll have to do it again. So I know I have this shape. Of course, I've been sitting, drawing it up, and you saw the little model that I made. So I know it's a shape that I like. And in the end, they're all just shapes that I fancy. But once I have them, once I make them look in a way that I like, I always have kind of fixed points. I have this here, which is like a small map. This is to scale. So 1 millimeter will equal 1 centimeter in reality. So since I knew I had this shape, I just measure. It's not in any way mathematical. I just measure as close as I can and see if the shape still looks the same to me. And this over here did. Now, why is that shape important? Well, it is because this one is going to sit across from side to side, and it's going to sit at this height. All my method is nothing but fixed points and try to reason logically and then map it out. So I have this distance and I have this distance. So this tells me how far I want it to protrude in front of the square bed. So that transfers to here. That's the same distance. That's how long I know I want it to stick out. This distance, of course, is important because it's going to tell me eventually where I put it when I weld it on. But it's also important because this distance gives me this distance, how far down from the top it's going to be. It's also important for another reason. If you remember, this is the largest hoop. They're the 2 hoops that I've made so far going across. So looking at that, having this here, I can exactly tell how far from side to side, because this point here, and see if I'm not mistaken, and this point here, approximately, that's where I want to be, because this thing here eventually will sit right across here. That's where I need it. So I have the length from side to side, which I could mark out because this mimics the front of the square trailer bed. So that's just a line, but that's what it's for. So I have the length from side to side, and I have this distance, which I know because I've already made my mind up. Actually, I've already done that part, you will see it later, how far it's going to protrude. So with pretty much just 3 fixed points, I can then draw a line, which is same as I've said before, just a line to my liking. You can see 2 lines here. I measured wrong, so eventually I discovered that and I could correct it. Actually, I hadn't the center line where it should be. But once again, you will discover when you make mistakes, and you will discover when you make something that you don't like, and then you just do it again. So once I had this line, which I made the same way as I've described before, with nails, hammers, and my different curvy things that I can bend, I arrived at a line that I like. And that's all. And then I could start bending and tweaking, and eventually I ended up with this piece. So once again, measurements, fixed points, and to me sympathetic lines, and that's all it is. And of course being able to map it out in the real scale, full scale. Hopefully I've made some sense. And once again, if any of you know better ways, please share. This is working so far.